Hey, what's up and welcome back, y'all. So today I'm going to talk to you about data sources, kind of what they are and how you can connect them to Power BI. So we're going to show you 4 different ways on how you can do it yourself. All right, so first up we have OData feed. So this is going to really be a way you can access an API or online services to where you can access those clean curated tables, right? So that golden table or those curated tables that are already cleaned. So then you could directly import those into Power BI. Now it's relational style data, and there's so many different types of companies that use it, whether they're financial, healthcare, retail, such as Walmart, Target, Microsoft, Amazon. All these companies really kind of use this stuff because it gives you an easy way to then access the data. Now with the OData feed, you can access it with a data lake, whether it's a direct connect to a data lake or it's a data warehouse. It kind of depends on how it's really set up. But at the end of the day, it's going to give you access to those clean curated tables, which really help when it gets loaded into Power BI, because now all you have to do is really just connect those relationships, then clean it some more through that ETL process, and then you're good to go to start report building. Next up, we have SQL Server. So this is going to be the most common that's used really across the enterprise, right? Because it's the most widely known and it's the easiest to really learn as well. But SQL kind of stores data in tables, so columns and rows, and it makes it very easy. So tables of data that are imported in that go directly into Power BI. So now I can directly call those tables with their fact tables, those dimension tables that are going to be the foundational structure of your data, or it's just going to be supporting data elements as well. Doesn't matter, they're kind of all nested within SQL. You also have companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Walmart, Target, eBay. Like all these companies kind of use this stuff, and their main use cases are really going to be for CRM, so customer relationship stuff, and then also analytics. Now SQL Server is really similar to Power BI, mainly because they're both built by Microsoft, right? But it has the same type of modeling structure. So we're talking about primary and foreign keys. So if you understand it from a Power BI aspect or a SQL Server aspect, you're going to understand it for the other side as well. All right, so next up we have flat files. So we're talking about text files or CSV files. So CSVs, as you know, really can't store formulas, right? So it's just plain data. It's quick, it's lightweight, it's ideal for simple data loads, right? Not for large data sets at all. That's what kind of makes it user friendly, and probably you often use this when you load data into Power BI is through a CSV file or even a text file, because it's just something that's exported out of a certain system that you're utilizing. Now another one we have is Excel, so XLSX. So that's going to be another Excel product we have. This one's a little bit different than CSV because these Excel workbooks actually allow you the ability to store formulas, create relationships, right? But it's not going to be as dynamic. It's not going to be as powerful as Power BI, because you can create relationships through Power Query within Excel, but those keys that you're really utilizing aren't going to be as functional as they are in Power BI, because it's not going to assume that referral integrity. So it does kind of make it problematic within Excel, whereas in Power BI, you're not going to have that issue. All right, so with that said, enough of the talking. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get data. So now we're going to get data for the OData feed that we're looking at first. So what we're going to do is click this button here on the drop down, or you can click up top as well. It doesn't really matter. And then for some reason, if you're looking for a data source and you can't find it within these common data sources here, you can always click on more. And then once you do that, all your options will really pop up here. But since we already know that it's here on the drop down, we're going to click on OData feed. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a free one that I just found on the internet. And this was just called North Wind. It actually reminds me of a movie I just watched not too long ago. But we're going to press OK. All right, so once you get here, the navigator window is going to pop up and you're going to see all these different tables that come in, right? Depending on, how many you have from your data feed that kind of comes in. And we're going to have this table that we're just hovering over right now, categories. I'm going to click on the checkbox. And we're going to have a category ID column that we see. So that's a unique indicator, right, for that column. So that can be a primary key maybe. Just really depends on the data. And then we have category name as well. So we have beverage, condiments, confections. And then we have the description as well, such as soft drinks, coffee, teas, and so on, right, for each one. And we can kind of navigate through every single table as well to identify really what they are. So we can see now that the category name here is probably going to be connected to the categories table that we just saw based upon the name itself, because that's a common value that we have, right? And then we have sales adjacent to this column name. Now what we can do is we can continue to click on each one, get a preview of them all. It's not going to give you the entire data set. Unless it's really a small table, then it really will. Once we're really done with previewing our data, we can click on transform data and we can jump directly into Power Query. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I personally do. I really go into Power Query separately after I load all my data and I start working my process from there on. So you can also click on load as I would do. And once you do that, all your data sources are going to come in on the right-hand side. So we can see them now. They're kind of popping in, right? So we have those columns that we're looking at, all the data here. So now we can directly go into Power Query if we want, edit that query, and then kind of go from there. So that's how OData feed works. The next one we're going to talk about is SQL Server. All right, so with SQL Server, you're going to have a server name and then you're going to have a database name as well, right? So you're going to have to fetch those depending on where your organization kind of has that data, and then input them here. So I'm just going to use a commercial one for the server name and then the database name as well. And then below that, we have two options, right? Data connectivity mode. So import and direct queries. So import's going to save really all your data within Power BI, right? So it's going to host that table and keep it within Power BI internally. So it's going to make it a little bit harder to refresh your data because it's going to have that storage capacity that's kind of linked to it now. Whereas direct query, you're going to not host all the data, but it's only going to receive those new updates as data is updated or refreshed, but rather direct query is going to just receive those updates and not going to store the data within Power BI. So it's more efficient, it's faster, but if you want to have more of a graph within the data itself, you're going to do more transformations, imports can be the best option for you. Now, personally, I use import just because there's a lot of transformations I got to do. If you're not doing those transformations within SQL Server, you can do them in Power BI. Now, there's pros and cons to each one, but it just depends on really what your use case is going to be. All right, so once you input all that stuff, we're going to press OK. All right, I actually had to change it to direct query just so it would run properly. But once you get here, it's really going to depend on your organization, right? So do you operate on credentials? Is there something else that you utilize, right? So for this one, we just have database. So I'm just going to put the username again. So the username is actually going to be the database name. So I'm going to input that. And then I'm going to get the password. I'm going to load that and I'm going to press connect. And then really once you're done with that, you're going to have the same type of option as you did with the OData feed, where you had that navigator option. You had all your tables kind of listed out and then you can just select them and then load them appropriately as well. All right, so the next one we're going to load is going to be a flat file. So what we're going to do is we're going to get data. We're going to go down to text and CSV. All right, so you got to identify where your data really lives within your desktop or somewhere else. And then we're going to click on the file that we actually need. You can press open. And then now I have all my data kind of loading in, right? So once we do that, we're going to press load. And then once the data is loaded, you'll see it here on the right-hand side, where we can now click on it. We can go to Power Query actually. And now once we're in Power Query, we can really do whatever we need to do to transform the data before it's pushed into the table view or data view. And then we could transform it even more and add more columns if needed, and then have it staged and ready to build reports and dashboards. All right, so for the last one, we have XLSX. So just going to be your standard Excel workbook file type. So we're going to click on Excel workbook. That one has a designated button for it. And this one is going to be the same process as the CSV or the text file button that we just clicked on. So really no change. We're going to be able to load that data. We're going to transform it. And we're going to do everything that we have to do in Power Query and then stage it and ready it for data view and table view so that we can then push it into our reports. All right, so with that said, those are the 4 types of most common ways you can load data into Power BI that personally I use. So I hope that this video helped you a lot so that now you can take it and really run with it on what you can do in Power BI to really connect your data. So with that said, leave a comment down below, subscribe, leave a like, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, y'all.